To the online launch of the Scottish Climate Intelligence Service. My name is Claire Warmby and I'm the Programme Director based at the Edinburgh Climate Change Institute. I'm joined today by Oren Shallett of Climate View and also Judy Kilgallen, who's our Capacity Building Manager at the Improvement Service. So just some quick housekeeping. We will be giving you 3 short presentations today and then doing a Q&A. So if you'd like to submit questions to the speakers using the Q&A button, we'll try and answer as many of these as possible at the end. So what we're going to go through today, we're going to do the origins of the Scottish Climate Intelligence Service and to talk about really what the problem is in our work to date and explain how we set the service up. I'm going to then pass over to Oren to give an introduction to the Climate View methodology, an approach that they've used in a number of municipalities across the globe. And then Judy is going to explain how the SCIS is going to be delivered, how it's going to help local authorities and their partners, what our vision is for the future and what our next steps are. So I'm going to start talking a bit about the problem. This graph shows the UK local authority greenhouse gas emission statistics measured in kilotons of CO2 equivalent, which are produced annually by DESNZ. So what this shows is that Scotland really currently has around about a 39 million tonne CO2 equivalent emissions problem, which is split out across the 32 local authority areas. What we're really talking about here is what's called the area-wide problem. So it's not one that's owned by a single organisation, but instead has multiple problem owners. So the combination and size of emission sources varies between local authorities, but really most of the emissions that are covered by the Scottish climate change targets are included within this problem set. We have made progress in the last 17 years, but the most progress we've made is around the grid emission factor. So that has been reducing pretty steadily since 2013 due to an increase in renewables in the grid and a decrease in the amount of coal-fired generation. What we now have to do is to solve the slightly trickier problem of heating buildings, transport and agriculture. And these are trickier because of various reasons, which include the existing embedded infrastructure that we've got, a much bigger set of decision makers in the mix, and some really misaligned incentives. These are also far more personal problems. So they intersect with how we travel, how we heat our homes, what we eat, where we work, how we play. But we also need to reframe this because this isn't necessarily just a climate problem. Instead, what we should think about is that this is a set of solutions to some of our most tricky societal problems around health and well-being, access to services, child and fuel poverty, sustainable economic development, with emissions reductions really coming in as a co-benefit. So as an example of this, for example, using increasing opportunities for active travel, this has a strongly evidenced impact on health, air quality and access to services. So where did this idea for a service come from? Well, we started right back in 2019 with some funding from the European Union, which was supporting the City of Edinburgh Council with funding to look at their climate strategy. We then got some more funding from the Scottish Government to explore using a tool that we developed. So we developed this kind of a very rough and ready Excel calculator to try and help the council answer some of these questions about whether they had enough interventions to meet a target. And we explored the option of whether we should use that with other cities or whether there are actually other options available. The problems and solutions that we identified were really not city specific, but applied to all local authorities. And we also found that there are an awful lot of other solutions out there that people are using, and there's no point in kind of building a new spec solution when we can just buy the best in the market. So we decided to ask for funding for a Scotland-wide programme for all local authorities to support them in this journey. We then got support from all of our partners and we put together a proposal for a 3-year programme, which is jointly funded by all 32 local authorities and the Scottish Government. And this gives us all skin in the game. The Improvement Service, the University of Edinburgh and the Sustainable Scotland Network have all been involved in the setup, and SSN has been extremely supportive in enabling us to engage with local authorities through their forum. Since 2023, we've used this development funding to engage all of the local authorities in the design of this service and the platform requirements. And then we did a public procurement exercise and contracted Climate View as our platform provider. And Oren's going to talk you through what that platform looks like. We set up a user group with all the local authorities to inform the inventory and design the service and provide support and impact feedback. And we are now here in the launching of the journey. We've actually already started our user journey with local authorities and started doing the training. We've also had an extraordinary level of support from all our partner organisations at a time when everyone is hugely stretched and under pressure. And we really hope that SCIS pays back that faith and delivers a step change in how we coordinate climate action.
At the end of the day, we all want a better place. We want to go from where we are now to a place that is better in all different aspects, not just because we have less emissions. And if we're going to do it, we need change. And changing means we have to heat our homes in a different way. We have to change the way we travel, how we produce energy, how we manage waste, how we produce food. And all those changes need, of course, plans. So we start creating plans. And the transport team creates a mobility plan. The housing team creates a retrofitting plan. And the energy team, energy plan, the waste team, waste plan. And we have also all the local authority plans, like the city plans, where you create the area by area, the detailed development plans. And we have the big long-term plans of the comprehensive local authority plans. We have also the private sector. They have many of them have plans, not all, but they are all looking different, of course. And we're creating those plans, which means we need data, lots of data for each one of those plans, like a mobility plan, there are loads and loads of data points. So data points all over the place, which are the plans. Now, there is also a new team on the block, much newer than the other teams, and that's the climate team. And the climate team is, of course, producing a plan of how to get to net zero. And there you need loads and loads of data points. What we have here is the so-called balancing tool, where you'll find all the sectors that a local authority can work with. One of them is private transport, another is freight, building with cement and concrete, electricity and district heating, local heating for non-residential. So each one of those sectors is here. And here you form the pathway, the strategy to net zero in this case. So what it shows here that all the kilometers, miles driven 2045, which is in this city, the targets, you'll see that all the miles are still driven in diesel and petrol kilometers. So by pulling up the lever here, and I'll pull it up to max with electric cars, what we're doing is we're shifting by 2045 all the diesel and petrol cars to electric cars. And here you saw the consequences when it comes to the remaining emissions. You'll still see that there are emissions left 2045, and those are emissions that you'll find up here, and that's from the production of electricity, which means that UK will have this size of box, while you will find in Sweden and even more so in Norway, this grey box will be smaller, while it will be bigger in Poland, depending on how green the grid is. And of course, in the model, you can both model the grid as well as combine it with your own electricity. Anyway, this is electric cars, but Dundee doesn't want everyone on electric cars and just have more and more cars in the city. So let's pull this down and pull up some more people on their bikes and some more people on the bus. And we do believe that e-meetings and remote working will continue, as well as passenger rail will also continue to grow. And then we've created a scenario. So like this, we can sit together, different stakeholders, and discuss, argue, do different scenarios, and then take decisions, because these are difficult decisions. Because look at the consequences. When we say the changes here and now look at the consequences, it becomes very obvious that in this city, when we go into biking, we now have a backcasting of the number of commutes. So this is a number of people that have to get on their bikes by 2025. So we have a number, and we can look at the tables giving us, so the number for 2025 is this number of kilometers that have to be shifted over from kilometers in diesel and petrol cars to bikes.
So how will the SCS help in the long term? So similar to it will take time to get up and running, it will also take time for all the benefits to materialise. It's a fundamental change in the way that we deliver climate action. But we have had great engagement from local authorities in developing the service so far. And we've also had huge support and engagement from the Scottish Government Net Zero public sector team. So firstly, for leaders and elected members, this is all about more informed decision making. It's about clearer and more current information about the various plans and ambitions at local level. It's about a common platform, language and data to support that consistency and support that national conversation about doing this once for Scotland, not 32 different ways by each local authority. It's about creating a live plan, something that's not buried in the many different documents there are. It's something that can be updated, it can be shared, it can be understood. And ultimately that all stakeholders, including the public, can see and engage with the local area plan. Our vision going forward is the creation of a truly local area climate action plan where we can map the interventions of multiple stakeholders and can have the open conversations about the transitions that are needed in how we live, work, eat, travel to deliver climate action. And of course, all the co-benefits of climate action. This is not just about climate intelligence, there's the wider reach and impact on health, inequality and resilience that we're already exploring how we can embed that. So what is next? We thought it would be helpful before we come to you all for questions. So please do start thinking about them and popping them in the Q&A box. But to touch on what we'll be focusing on in the near term, just to sort of share that. So the main focus clearly will be around the capacity building programme, this user journey for local authority officers, alongside attending regional and national events as we're guided by the local authority officers we're working with and Scottish Government. We are looking at how we reach beyond the climate change teams to others within councils and the wider area. And really from early next year, we'll be looking more closely at the wider stakeholders. And I'll flag the different events and sessions that we're doing that are open to everyone will be publicised on our LinkedIn page, and you can sign up on our website to be kept informed.